Hey, Rifters, welcome to the show. Subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. Got a great show today. Very excited. You've seen her in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV show. You've seen her in Bosch. You've seen her in Ed Wood. She has her own movie called A Place Among the Dead, and she has her own podcast, Revamped with Juliet Landau, and she's going to be here over the Zoom. The video is not going to be shown, just for audio. So, yeah, guys, enjoy Razor Riffs with Juliet Landau coming up next.
From Hollywood, California, welcome to Razor Riffs with your host, Keith Razor.
Hi, Juliet. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
I'm excited.
Excellent. I just got a haircut today, so I'm feeling fresh.
You look good. I like it.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
It looks nice. Are you doing it for the holidays or just for regular?
No, I like, if you want to know the truth, I lost a bet with my sister because I had longer hair. And she was like, okay, well, since you lost the bet, you have to cut your hair because you're looking more and more like a girl, I guess. And I was like, all right, so I cut my hair. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, what was the bet?
It was something really stupid. It was about like we made like the when you're on a sidewalk, like not the sewers, but the they're on the sidewalk where like people like it's like a cage, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what that's called, but we made a bet of how many people accidentally fall down on those. And I said that that's like more of a movie thing, you know what I mean? And she said that like it's probably like two or three people a year, and she won.
How did you guys verify this?
We chat GBT'd it, which may not be the best source,
Yes,
but
it may or may not be. I'm not sure. You may have cut your hair with unneeded results.
yeah. But so that's the truth of cutting my hair. It was a really stupid bet, but whatever. Anyways, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. And yeah, we'll just jump right into it if you're ready.
I would love to.
All right, cool. I wanted to ask you about Ed Wood first because Ed Wood is one of my favorite films, and I wanted to ask you about the audition process. And then when you auditioned for it, did like the version of Loretta, like was that Tim's version, or did he kind of let you play around with it and mold it into your character?
That's a great question. It was a very collaborative experience. Tim creates the best atmosphere on set. Ed Wood was his love letter to filmmaking. Loretta is based on a real person, so I did a lot of research. And on set, if there were times where I wanted to try something, I would ask. For the bar scene, Tim asked me at one point to punctuate a particular line with a smile. And I wanted to save the smile for the very end of the scene where Johnny's character, Ed, gives me the part. So I said, I think I know what you want. I'd love to save the smile for the end. Can I try something else? And he said, yes. And when I did the take, the thing with Tim is on set, when he was excited about something, he would bounce up and down. So you would see him in line. Yeah, you'd see him and you could tell when he was happy because he literally would be going up and down and up and down. And so with this, I could see him bouncing up and down off camera, and I knew it was a go. In the scene where Ed finds out that Loretta doesn't have the money, I also asked about something that I had in mind, and Tim said, yeah, let's try it. In that scene, his instinct was better, much better than mine. In the reenactment scene that Sarah Jessica Parker and I have, it was scripted with just an abbreviated version. The real scene that it's based on from Bride of the Monster is a short scene anyway, so we both asked if we could shoot it word for word, and it turned out to work really well. So that shoot was completely collaborative and just so much fun working with both Tim and Johnny.
That's kind of awesome that when Tim like liked your ideas, he would jump up and down because usually that's what people who don't like your ideas do that. You know what I mean? They're like,
Tim,
ah, you know?
no, Tim would have this ebullient spirit, and when he liked something that was happening on camera, you would just see him get excited and almost jump up and down like a kid who is gleeful. So it was really lovely.
Do you remember the audition? Like, was that like, did that give you anxiety or did you kind of go in thinking, okay, I could get this?
I did think I could get it because the description was so on the money for me at the time. I was shooting my very first film, which was actually my second film, which was direct hit. And so I had been shooting all night. So I came in with Vicki Thomas was the casting director, and I hadn't slept at all. And I was exhausted, and she said, "Oh, we could have rescheduled." But I was put on tape, and the audition was really fun. And then I was told that I got a call back, and I thought, okay, I'm going to be auditioning for Tim. And so I was in the waiting room and I was getting ready to uh, read the scene. And they said, no, Tim just wants to meet you. You're not going to be auditioning again. He loved your audition tape and he just wants to hang out and see if you guys connect. And so I went in and had the most awesome stream of consciousness, unusual, creative discussion that had nothing to do with the film. We didn't talk about the film at all. And I loved it. I had no idea. I think I was there an hour and a half. I didn't know if I booked the job or I didn't. The funny thing is that I had gone to the restroom ahead of the audition. And when I left a couple days later, my agent called and I got excited because she said, it's about Ed Wood, call me back. And I called her back thinking, well, they don't usually call so fast unless it's good news. And she said, hey, Juliet, it's Karan here. And Ed Wood Casting wants to know if you took their bathroom key. And I said, no, I absolutely didn't take their bathroom key because it was huge. They had put it on a hanger, a men's suit hanger. So,
Oh, yeah, yeah. So they
yeah.
don't lose it.
So they don't
Oh,
lose it, so no one takes it. And I said, it was too huge. There's absolutely no way. And I open up my purse and I look, and of course, the huge hanger is shoved into my purse. And she said, look, it's their only copy. Can you go back, please? They need their bathroom key. And so I had to do the walk of shame with the key, with the hanger through the whole office, give them back their key. And people were saying things like, oh, thank God. Oh, yay, the key's back. And so when she did call me a week later, I picked up the phone. I said, what? I don't have the key anymore. I don't have it. She said, no, they do. They want to hire you. So,
oh my gosh. So stealing a key by accident kind of really nailed to get the part, right?
or it didn't deny the audition. I don't know. I was really humiliated by the bathroom key experience, but
If it makes you feel any better, I've done that before, but I always like had a good excuse. You know what I mean? So like I'd steal the key because I used to do this podcast in LA at a studio before the pandemic, right?
uh-huh.
And and they had one of those keys, and I took it once, and then the director. Like right when I was in my car to head home, I was like, ah, crap, I still have it. So I went back, and the director of the show at the time, he's like, do you have the key? I was like, no, some mofo took it and I got it from him.
Oh, did he believe you?
No, I don't know, but
Nah.
I don't want him to know I was the last one in the bathroom. You know
Right,
what I mean?
exactly. Like, and also who else mysteriously came and took the key?
Yeah. Well, at the time I had a sidekick, so I was gonna blame it on him. But
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
But you talked about direct hit, how that was your first major film, and I wanted to ask, like, how is that working with William Forsythe? Because you've said a lot of positive things, like for about him, like for your first film, a big movie star like that, just showing you the ropes must have been really cool, you know?
It was amazing. I love him. And it actually was my second film. In it, I play a character named Shelley, who is set up as a damsel in distress, but really is duplicitous and a very strong character. I had a scene where I pull a gun on Bill. It was my second movie, and I had had a similar experience that I had on my very first movie, which was with Michael Ironside. It was a film called Neon City. In Neon City, I had a few emotional scenes, and then we were shooting a sequence where Michael was on one side of the table and the rest of the cast was on the other. We were shooting Michael's coverage, and after we shot a take, he looked at me and he said, is this okay? What do you think?
Yeah.
Being the newbie, the youngest, I proceeded to look around at every other cast member. Who's he talking to? They were all much more seasoned, and I assumed he was asking someone else, anyone else. And he said, no, 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 you, Juliet, I really love the work that you've been doing. And I was absolutely honored. Similarly, with Bill, we started to rehearse the gun scene, and he said something like that to me. And we had a wonderful time playing off of one another and discovering things. This led to my working with Bill 3 other times.
Whoa.
Yeah. He requested me on a film called The Bronx Bull. And that was a really fun project because I was playing a Viennese movie starlet, and we improvised a lot within the scenes. And we had
Yeah.
that sort of shorthand from having worked together so much.
Well, that just proves to you that chemistry between like two actors is very, very important because you never know what the future holds for future projects. You know what I mean?
It's critical. I think chemistry is eminently watchable. I think it's what we like to watch as human beings. And whether it doesn't have to be sexual chemistry, any kind of chemistry in a scene when actors are really alive with one another, I think that's very exciting.
Yeah. And all the very few movies I did, I wish I had chemistry with all my co-stars so I could be in more movies, I guess. I don't know. But I'm kind of a loner stand-up comedian type thing, so I don't really like acting's not really my first heart. You know what I mean?
I always think stand up is the hardest thing. I am impressed by you and that you can do stand up because I think it is literally just there's so much pressure and it is just you doing it.
Yeah, yeah. And when we're acting, it's like you're kind of working as a team. Even though like you could be a star or co-star, at the end of the day, it's still like a team that makes a film or a TV show work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very collaborative. Although I would venture that you also are collaborating with your audience when you're on stage and you're doing
Yeah.
your thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, kind of, but it's kind of like a lone wolf where like I just say what's in my mind or I'm writing my jokes and stuff and then if it works great, if it doesn't, it's kind of on me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We're like I can't blame. I was like, it's the writer and the director. That's why,
You can't do the bathroom key thing.
exactly. It's all on me. Yeah. But no, and you worked with someone really cool in Life Among the Cannibals, Kieran Maroney. And I know Dermot Maroney, like Dermot's my pal. And for some reason, I always like, I've never met Kieran, but he seems like he's kind of a goofball, kind of like Dermot. You know what I mean? I wanted to ask, like, if you had any cool stories about that.
Yeah, you guys are pals. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I interviewed him. I consider everyone I interview a pal, I guess. But yeah,
Well, Kieran is also great. In that movie, I play the most awful, abusive character who was based on the director's ex girlfriend.
yeah.
So she was really the first villain I ever played, and she was more evil than the serial killer next door. And I found it really fun and liberating to play such a rotten apple. She would just spew. She was such a nasty piece of work, a very narcissistic character. For the set of our home, they made a huge Andy Warhol triptych of my headshot that I
Oh
used
my
at the
God.
time. And they also had hundreds of framed photographs of only me everywhere throughout the house. And Kieran was just wonderful to work with. He was fun.
Now, so if this was based about against the director's ex-girlfriend, so that's a real person. Like when you play real people, like do you like interview the people you're playing to see if you can get ideas to connect to them, or do you just kind of take your own take on it.
Yes, very often I will interview them, and I love doing that. In this case, he was no longer in touch with the nightmare girlfriend, so I did
Oh,
interview her because she didn't know that she was the model for this movie. But he definitely had something to say about her nature.
oh my gosh. I just think that that's the craziest thing. Like, cause I always dreamt of like maybe doing a movie about a real person. But like, if you interview them, then like you could kind of take what they did, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
the real people I always want to play are like people who died like 300 years ago. You know what I mean?
Right. So then it's all research, right? It's just trying to
Yeah.
find out as much as you can about them.
Yeah. But let's talk about Place Among the Dead because you wrote, directed that, and I wanted to and you also acted in it. I wanted to ask, like, as a actress, like, is it hard directing yourself because you got so many different elements, and does it like give you anxiety when you're like, ah, maybe I don't know if I'm directing, if or if I'm acting this part really well because I'm so focused on directing, or like, does that question make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. It's a great question. Let me start by just framing the film a little bit. A Place Among the Dead is my directorial feature debut. It's a genre bending, elevated horror film which explores the repercussions of growing up under the sway of narcissism and psychological abuse. My
Hmm.
husband, Dev, and I co wrote and co produced the picture. We were both raised by parents with narcissistic personality disorder, and we wanted to make a film which explores how that affects every aspect of your life, your decision making, your sense of yourself. And I chose to make the movie searingly personal, as they say, the more personal, the more universal. And the whole point was to make an entertaining movie and to give voice to what has affected many, to open up a dialogue. It's a cautionary tale of sorts, and the thrust being that as adults, we can make different conscious choices in our lives. The cast includes Gary Oldman, Ron Perlman, Robert Patrick, Lance Henriksen, and best-selling author Anne Rice, the only time ever she acted in a movie.
Whoa.
Yeah, and that was so much fun. To get back to what you asked, uh, A Place Among the Dead is completely scripted. Even the faux interview sections with our celebrity cameos were scripted to look spontaneous, and we blur the lines of reality using a scripted meld of fact, fiction, and the fantastical. It seems like this scripted personal factual component is what's unique and seems to be doing the trick with viewers. People go on the journey of Jules, the main character, and then they turn the lens on themselves. Um, for me, yes, it's hard because you are, as an actor, being emotional and open and taking the steps of the character, but then as the director, you're being, so that's subjective. And then as the director, you're being objective. With
Right.
the nature of the film, I had to go to highly emotional places as an actor and then switch to my analytic left brain as the director. But my husband was a huge help with that. We worked on pre production together. We had a 2 week rehearsal process. When shooting, when I would go to set at the start of the day, I would walk through all of the locations and talk through the scenes with all the departments. But once I got into the makeup chair, I became the actress, and Dev would field the questions for me. I
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it really helped. And then I also really trusted him with his opinion on playback. Then I was all director again in post when we worked on all the other aspects. And it's just incredible because we work together beautifully. We have similar taste, a similar work ethic, but we also bring very different skills to the mix.
Yeah. So like I come kind of more like in the comedy background, so this statement could be totally false, but just for comedy, this is kind of what it seems like. Where like a director who directs a comedy thing, they can't really act, but yet an actor who does comedy could also direct comedy. And I always found that kind of fascinating in a weird way. You know what I mean?
Wait, what do you mean? I'm not sure I'm following your.
Like if a guy's directing a sitcom, right? And
Mm-hmm.
he's not an actor, he's just a director of a sitcom, and then
Oh,
he wants to like be a part of the sitcom. He's like the worst actor in the whole
oh, you're
sitcom.
saying directors can't necessarily act, but actors can make good directors.
Exactly. That's yeah. I always
Well,
find that.
I think acting, a lot of people think acting is easy, but it takes a lot of work to be an actor and to be very natural and do all of the things that an actor does. I think actors make great directors because they've been on set and they see what really works well and
Yeah.
felt what has worked well, and then they implement that on their own sets.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of acting, I also wanted to jump into voice acting. Like, do you feel voice acting is easier because, like, they're not recording your body or whatever, or you're not, you're just kind of reading into a scope, or do you think it's harder because because of that?
I find it similar. I do a lot of preparation for any role that I do. And with voiceover, I also put a lot of work into every character. What is easier is, unless they're shooting a behind the scenes or an EPK, there's no primping involved, there's no
Right.
hair, there's no makeup. That can be liberating and it makes the days shorter. And it's really fun. Of course, it's different for motion capture because that's being
Right.
caught on film. By the way, I have a new audiobook series. It's called Vamp PD, and season 1 and season 2 are now up on Audible as of a couple weeks ago, as well as on Big Finish Audio. I had worked with them prior on some Doctor Who audiobooks in conjunction with the BBC, and they wrote this series expressly for me, and it is wickedly funny and fun, dark, scary. I love this universe so much. And the other stars are Mara Wilson and Alami Ballard.
Oh, wow. That's kind of cool that they wrote that for you. Like you got the
Yeah,
call and you're like, yes.
absolutely. Well, what was funny is they actually said, "Oh, we're writing this audiobook series for you." And I said, "Fantastic." And then they said, "So it's vampires." And I said, "Oh, I don't know if I want to do another vampire project." And they said, "Just read it." And they sent it to me. And I literally was guffawing at the scripts. And my husband, who knows me, I'm not a laugher. I kind of am a person who generally points and goes, "That's funny." I
Right.
become cerebral. I'm not necessarily an open laugher when I'm reading something. I was laughing so hard. And he said, "What is going on in there?" And I said, "You have to read this. Vamp PD is what's going on."
Oh my gosh. That's awesome. But like let's also talk about that because not only do you have that, but you also have your own podcast called Revamp, right? So like you got the experience in doing that type of thing.
Yes, Revamped with Juliet Landau is the first Buffy podcast with a cast member as your guide.
Yeah.
On the TV series, Buffy's friends were referred to as the Scooby Gang, a reference to Scooby Doo. I played vampire villainess Drusilla, also known as Drew. So on the podcast, my revamped co hosts are my alter ego. She calls herself Scooby Drew,
Oh,
who adds her own singular POV to the mix, Cy Rebecca, and Watcher Dev. We capture heartfelt nostalgia, and it's a fresh evolution, a continuation with new content and new entertainment as well. We do creative features like vampire vignettes and imagined missing scenes that could have been in each episode of Buffy. And so there's a lot of scripted material, and we also interact with the fans a great deal. We have fan driven trivia battles, amongst other things. We just crossed 312,000 downloads in a very short period of time.
whoa.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
We only submitted to 2 festivals and we won Best Podcast at both. It's just been a real joy to be on this journey. But it's funny because when we record the rewatch episodes, which is one component of the show, it's Juliet, Scooby Drew, and Cy Rebecca. And I talk back and forth to myself as me, Juliet, and me as English crazy vampire Drusilla. I'm sort of the straight man to Drew, and I actually find myself getting jealous of her.
Really? Wow.
And I'm always saying to my husband, Deb, Drew gets all the fun stuff. Drew's getting, to do more and more. The fans really like Drew. And he has to remind me, wait a minute, Juliet, you do realize you are both you and Drusilla. So it's kind of wild. How long have you been podcasting, by the way?
A long time, like 14 years. How I actually started is because I toured with Norm Macdonald, and Norm had a podcast, and then he told me to do one. And so that's kind of how I got into it. And I used to write on his podcast and all that stuff. But
that is awesome.
yeah. But I wanted to talk to you about Buffy because, like, I don't mean this in a bad way, but I'm friends with Christy Swanson, and whenever we go to Comic Cons or whatever, and I help assist her, like all the Buffy fans are kind of crazy. Like there's so many of them, you know what I mean? And that was just the movie, so I could only imagine the TV show. How like when you go to cons, like because it seems like they really that character in that show in the movie, they really changed people's lives, you know?
They are the best fan base. And we were popular when the show was on the air, and we're even more popular now. It has gone generationally. So people share it with their kids and now their grandkids. It's a very rabid, supportive, incredible fan base.
What when people like give you stuff to sign and stuff, like do you have like at these cons or whatever, do you have like a little quick saying, like something in your mind, or do you just write your autograph, or like what how does that work for you?
I will write sayings, and it's kind of a spur of the moment thing, depending on the fan. But certain Drusilla quotes, Ed Wood quotes, or Bioshock quotes are common for people to ask for, and then I will do those.
I always like whenever like people don't ask for my autograph that much, but whenever they do, I always say don't do crack because I think that's just kind of funny. But about Buffy, I wanted to ask you about the inspirations for Drew because I also feel like I've seen the show when I was a kid and stuff, and I feel like that your character. Like I was going to ask, do you have any? Did you have any help? Like, did you help write your? Bleh. Did you help write your character's dialogue and stuff because it was like kind of in your voice, or was that just something you latched onto?
The scripts were a given. Here and there, I would ask potentially to change a word for the dialect. What was so collaborative about it was the wafty nature of Drusilla, her sing-song way of speaking, her movement and mannerisms, a lot of the things like her monosyllabic cry or monosyllabic laugh, all of that came from me and would get incorporated into the scripts. So it was a wonderful give and take.
Oh gosh. Now about fight scenes, a lot of people don't know, but like when you film fight scenes, like that kind of probably takes a long time because it's kind of like a dance in a way. You know what I mean? Like obviously you have to make sure no one gets hurt and stuff, but you're kind of dancing. And I wanted to know like how is that like when you're, you know, blocking it and stuff, like how what's the process in that?
Yes, it's very much like a dance. And I was a dancer, and I think that my training was invaluable in that. One of the things when you're doing fight scenes is you learn your part, and then obviously the stunt people do the really eh, dramatic stuff, but you learn your part and you learn it by the numbers sort of slowly and then speed it up and speed it up and speed it up so that you will be able to do it on action. But even then, generally with fight scenes, you slightly slow things down so that the camera can read what is happening so that
Yeah.
it registers. Because if you went normal speed that would be happening in life, it sort of just happens and you don't register it and see it. The viewer wouldn't get it. So you're always doing it a tiny bit slower than you would if it was something that was taking place for real.
Now, when you were on Buffy, you also did like you also transitioned a little to Angel, and that was a show as well. When you were filming that, did you ever get confused on what show you were on because you were the same character, or were you like, all right, I know this is the Angel universe, which is also the Buffy universe, but sometimes they collided and sometimes they didn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it was like one big set. I worked with so many of the same cast members across both shows. Herb, who shot Angel, had worked with Michael on Buffy. Michael was the cinematographer on Buffy. On the crossover episodes, we would shoot some Buffy on the Angel set and vice versa, because
No.
different parts of the same scenes would be shown on each show. So we would shoot them all in one. But the experience for me felt like one big experience since the character was the same. A lot of the people were the same, although we shot Angel primarily on the Paramount studio lot, and we shot Buffy in Santa Monica on the Stewart Street
Nice.
stages.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
Santa Monica, like that's the one where like if you hop over the fence, you could get in, right? Or is that Paramount?
Well, I don't know. We might
Oh,
be able to get into both, but I'm not sure. They would have guards in front of them, letting you in always at the gates of either one.
either one has a guard. I like that. Uh, so let's talk about Bosch for a little because you said that that was one of your favorite interesting characters. I wanted to ask, like, why?
Rita is a very complex character. In season 5 of Bosch, she's living a dual life. She's keeping everything compartmentalized for a long time. She's been doing this. And at work, she tries to just slip under the radar. She's a hardworking, gifted court reporter. She's also secretly married to Preston Borders, played by Chris Browning. He's on
Oh,
death row. Do you know Chris Browning's work?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So he's on death row for a brutal rape, murder, and is suspected of more heinous crimes. Our characters met at his trial and we formed a bond despite his gruesome crimes. Many women are in this situation in real life, and there even is a dating site called Death Row Dates, which is
Really?
for people who want to hook up with inmates. And I found this element particularly fascinating. I became obsessed with researching women who have made this choice. With Rita, a big part of it comes from feeling like an outsider. She feels that Prez is an outsider too. He's outside of the norms of society, and she feels he's the only one who truly sees and understands her. Initially, I found myself viewing the relationship at arm's length, but as I delved deeper, I found it came from a desire which every human being has. Rita maybe carries it out a little bit differently, but her need is to be loved. I think
Yeah.
that's her core. Her relationship is a microcosm for many alliances. It's the ultimate long distance relationship, but instead of partners being separated by geography, it's by walls and by the system. It's also the extreme version of an unhealthy relationship. Many of us have had at least one of those, a relationship based on fantasy of who we think someone is, who we want them to be, rather than who they really are.
Right.
And so I found all of that so complex and fascinating. In Bosch, Rita tries to get Prez out of prison. She's involved in falsifying evidence. She's doing all of this stuff. In season 3 of Bosch Legacy, which came out not too long ago, she's back. She's made a deal and stayed out of prison, but her life has taken a downward turn. She's now no longer working as a court reporter. She's working as a cleaner and she's on probation. but she's again up to no good. She's being nefarious. She doesn't see it that way, but this
Right.
time she's trying to break Prez out of prison. She's not doing it through the legal system. They're trying to figure out a way to get him out. And she will do anything for what she considers her special romantic love. She is a person who is excited and motivated about the power of secrets, and a lot goes down. I won't spoil it, but I really found her a compelling character.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. I'm curious, is that a real thing, or was that just for the show about the inmates dating site thing?
Oh, that's real. That's
Really?
real. Yeah, there's actually a few of them. And there's also a whole lot of books written by people who have been married to either people on death row or in prison. And I watched a lot of documentaries about this. And yeah, it exists.
Oh my gosh, you kind of gave all future felons hope that they could still find love on this, right?
Well, I'm
So,
not so sure that Prez is indeed in love with Rita. She would say otherwise, but I think he also found someone he felt would do anything to help him, and he manipulates that situation as well.
yeah. Yeah, I used to love because we got to keep it PG, for the folks. But yeah, I'll move on. Anyways, I wanted to ask you, what are your biggest fears that you have when you're acting and stuff, like when you first started, and do you still have those fears today when you get new projects?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I think I've always been pretty fearless in roles. It's one of
Really?
the things that I love about acting. I agree with something Tim Burton said in our documentary, which will be coming out next year. He said, monster movies never really scared me. I'm more scared by real life. I feel like life is more daunting than anything in fiction. What about you? What do you feel?
I think for sure. I mean, monster movies don't scare me, but like real like Oscar movies like The Green Mile, that movie scared me because I didn't know he could have those magical powers. You know what I mean? Like that's just kind
Mm-hmm.
of but
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like a scary temptation. It was just scary like, hey, if I ever go in the mile, there might be some guy who has mysterious powers and he could bring a mouse back to life. Like that would scare me, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny when we interviewed Anne Rice for the documentary that we're doing. She not only is in our film, but also in our documentary project. And I think it's the last interview she ever gave. She
Oh,
said if she was confronted in real life with a vampire, that it would be a terrifying experience. In her fictional world, it isn't. But if you could really have this experience of coming into contact with a undead creature, it probably would completely blow your mind.
oh yeah, for sure. A lot of people I think are scared of vampires, but I would like to argue that maybe they're not scared of them. They're just scared of because people have arguments. Maybe they did, in mythology, maybe they did exist back then, but like maybe they're not scared. I think people are more interested by what they're scared of. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So I think that's kind of how that is. Like people are afraid of what they don't understand, type of thing.
Yeah. And to some degree, vampires in myth and pop culture exercise some of our fears about aging, about death, all the things we don't want to look at. Here are these creatures that don't do any of that. They step outside of time. So it's a way for us to look at our own mortality and our own cycle of life that is a supernatural way of turning the mirror on ourselves.
Uh, if vampires had a dating site, kind of like these prisoners had a dating sites, what would the vampire dating site be?
I don't know. I thought it was funny on death row dates because one gentleman said, I love to cook and walk on the beach. And you think, well, he's going to be on death row for, I don't think that's going to be happening. That's not part of the dating profile. They're not going to be walking on beaches and having meals cooked. So I don't know.
Uh,
What do you think of vampires would be?
I think their main profile will kind of be the same. Like, oh, I like long late night walks on the beach, you know, and I hate garlic, right? And
Right.
and if you charm me well enough, we could go find a Motel 6 and I could suck your blood. You know what I mean? Like something like that, where but it's all at night, and then during the day they'd be like, I hate daylight.
Yeah, and maybe uber romantic. I will be with
Exactly.
you forever and ever and ever, literally eternity.
Yeah, we gotta find out a name for this cool vampire dating site, Like
Yeah, because Death Row Dates has alliteration. We have to figure out what vampire dating site would be.
what would be a good name? We gotta figure this out before the end of this podcast because I'm telling you, this is $1 million idea for all.
For all those vampires listening out there.
Exactly. I wanted to move into marketing because a lot of people don't really realize this, but maybe back in the olden days, marketing wasn't really a big thing because it was more about word of mouth and like Tonight shows and all that stuff. But now, when you're acting and stuff, like I did a movie and they wanted me to market it and tweet it and all that stuff, and it seems like marketing now is kind of part of the game. And I wanted to
Mhm.
ask if you agree with that or if you're kind of like,
It is a big part. I actually like it because I'm very close and interactive with my fan base. They
uh,
are awesome people. So I find it incredible that you can have a direct line to people who love what you do and want to support what you do. I'm sure you have that with your podcast, that you have your Instagram page and you have people that listen to your show, and you can directly let them know what the next episode is, and you can have them talk to you about what they liked about the last episode and all of that. Do you experience that as well?
I do, but I'm very a weird individual where like on criticism or positivity and stuff where like I feel that it doesn't really affect my heart. So I feel like if people don't think I'm funny or people think I'm annoying and something, like that's their opinion, but it's not going to affect
That's great.
what I do. You know what
But
I mean?
yeah, but I don't think necessarily a lot of quote unquote criticism online is constructive. I think people are just mean if they're doing that often and it's a place for them to vent, or there's bots, or there's all that stuff. I think it's great that you stay true to what your mission is and what your creativity is. And you don't, if there's something that's helpful, wonderful, but otherwise you sort of stay on point, and that's great.
I figured out the name for our vampire dating site.
What is it?
Love Bites.
Love bites.
Huh?
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
You
Yeah,
did it. I'm
Yeah.
impressed.
For Julia, for 29.99 a month, you could be a subscriber to Love Bites, and, right? And you could instead of like in Tinder where you like swipe right, you could swipe in the middle, and then show them little like you could bat them, just throw them a bat, I don't know.
I
That
think that's good. I like your riffing and where it's going. Love
love
bites.
Love bites. All right. I got two more questions for you because I want to respect your time. But I wanted to ask you, like, what if you weren't an actress, or I guess now you're a director as well and a podcaster. What would you do if you couldn't do any of those things? What would you do to inspire people?
Maybe I would be a therapist. We've had a pretty inspiring journey, and the discussions we've had with people all over the globe with our film, A Place Among the Dead, has been humbling. We found that everyone deals with narcissism, whether it be a spouse, partner, ex partner, boss, coworker, friend, family members, or our world leaders. We struck an artery, not just a nerve. Every single talkback with the audiences lasted for hours, some of them literally 7.5 hours. And it's just been an incredible journey. We have a group of people that have named themselves the A Place Among the Deadheads, like the Grateful Dead, that would come
Oh,
every single online screening event, festival, flew into live screenings, and so many people have expressed that the movie has changed their lives. which absolutely means the world.
Yeah. Man, therapist. That's cool. I used to go to a therapist, but like I the problem with therapists is I don't know if they're really paying attention to my problems because like I'm always sitting on a couch, you know what I mean? Who knows if they have like a back door or something, you know what I mean? And then they come back when the hours and they'd be like, "Oh, that was very interesting. We'll see each other next week."
What do you think?
I don't know. I don't
They'll
know.
ask you, what do you think as a, but I think it's also about finding the right therapist,
Uh,
obviously, right? Where you have
uh
the connection with someone who really helps you.
Yeah, yeah. Before I go to therapy, I always say, "Hey, why don't you and I go out for a drink and stuff and see if we connect, and then I'll give you $500."
I think maybe also I would have liked archaeology. I'm fascinated by history, so I think that would be an
Oh
incredible
my
field
God.
as well.
What's your favorite type of history?
Oh, I'm fascinated by everything from when I was a kid studying ancient Egypt to begin with. All I really am fascinated. One of the things that I love when we are in London is just going to the museums that are there, everything, the theater that there, the culture. That's the kind of thing that I can really just soak up.
Oh my gosh, I love that stuff. Like I've always wanted to go to Egypt to go to the pyramids and stuff, but
Mhm.
like no one ever wants to go with me because they're scared of these booty traps or whatever. And I was like, well, that's why I want to go with somebody because I don't want to be trapped by myself.
That would not be fun,
All right. Like it's
right?
fun. It's funner to be trapped with somebody because you could be like, you can make little games like, all right, which one of us is going to die first? I don't know.
Maybe you need to go on Love Bites and find someone to go with you.
Exactly. That's, I'm buying a subscription after this podcast.
Travel at night, go to the
E-
woods at night.
Exactly. Now, my last question for you, this isn't anything to do about your career or whatever, but this is kind of like a funny, a weird question. But if you were Ben and Jerry's ice cream flavor, what would you call yourself and what kind of ice cream would you be?
Ooh. First of all, do you have a flavor that you would be?
For me,
Yeah. I'm
it
curious what
cha-
you
it changes every day because I love ice cream. But I have a flavor name for whatever flavor I am. Yeah,
Oh, what is it?
Raisin Fantastic.
Oh, that's
Right?
pretty great. Yeah. Well, let's see. If I were making a flavor, I think I would do, I'm trying to think. Well, coffee with chocolate fudge brownie. That would be it. Maybe some marshmallow and caramel swirled in, or coffee with cookies, like cookies and cream, but with coffee. Let's call it Mocha Jewels.
Oh, I like that. Mocha Jewels.
Mocha Jewels.
That's a great, that's actually one of the best answers I've ever heard. Uh, where can the folks at home follow and support you? I know you have a podcast, so we got to get folks to listen and subscribe to that. But do you have Instagram, Twitter, stuff like that?
Yeah, I have all of that. I hope people listen to Revamped with Juliet Landau. We are on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, everywhere podcasts are available. Our Patreon page is Revamped with Juliet Landau. Bosch Legacy is on Amazon Prime. Vamp PD is on Audible as of a couple weeks ago, as well as Big Finish. My multi-award winning feature film, A Place Among the Dead, is streaming worldwide on Amazon Prime, Google Play, Tubi, Apple Plus, and other platforms. The Blu-ray, with nearly 5 hours of bonus extras, is available on Amazon Prime as well as other platforms and outlets too. My social media handles are Twitter at Juliet Landau, Instagram at Juliet_Landau, fans of Juliet Landau Facebook group, or Juliet Landau official Facebook page.
Wow, that was awesome. We're gonna put all that in the notes as well, and we'll tag you and stuff, and we'll get people to love bites you or whatever. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. Well, Julia, thank you so much for doing this. I'm glad we finally nailed it in the coffin. Ha ha.
No pun intended. I
Yeah.
have to say, by the way, too, I really loved your interview with Ed Begley Jr. I found it
Oh.
So insightful. And I learned a lot from that interview. I've listened to a lot of your podcasts. I particularly responded to that one and just wanted to mention it.
Oh, thank you. That's a great guy, man.
Yeah. And you guys had a great rapport on the show. I loved it.
Well, thank you so much. And you and I had a great rapport too, so that's all that matters. You know what I mean? I like having great rapports with people I interview because they, as much as like I said, I do stand-up comedy and then like I think acting's like my fifth job, but either way, I learned something from everyone I interview to try and be a better artist or whatever I want to be. So that's why I do it.
That's the thing I think that keeps us young, that curiosity.
And then that young potion I get from Love Bites.
That too.
Mhm. All right, Julia. Well, I want to respect your time, so have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much. I can't wait. And this was just a blast hanging out with you and chatting with you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All right, guys. That was the episode. Subscribe, rate, review, and we'll see you guys next week on Razor Riffs.